was thoroughly disgusted. And quite frankly, anyone who takes anything coming out of the federal government's mouth when it comes to Africa or the Caribbean, including Haiti, at face value, you should be embarrassed.
She is the ambassador to the United Nations for the United States, Linda Thomas-Greenfield. I had a chance to catch with her earlier today, talk about the first anniversary of Ukraine. We also, of course, talked about some other issues, Africa, Haiti, Ethiopia as well. Here's our conversation. Our ambassador, let's get right to it. 2022, $113 billion in aid, various forms of aid provided to Ukraine from the United States. A lot of folks, and whenever we deal with the Ukraine, a lot of people in my audience, they immediately say, why are we spending that much money on Ukraine? That money could be going to African Americans or other interests in the United States. How do you respond to that?
Look, we're defending Ukraine's efforts to defend us. Russia's attack on Ukraine is an attack on democracy. It is an attack on all of our values. It is an attack on the UN's charter, the charter gives us the responsibility for peace and security around the world. And this fight is our fight. And if we don't defend Ukraine, we may be having to defend this on our own borders. So this is a fight for America. It's a fight for the world, and it's keeping us at the moment from being engaged on the ground ourselves in this fight.
Obviously, a ton of money, but there still is no end in sight. And so you have Republican critics, you have folks, again, just regular, ordinary people who are saying, again, how much longer does it continue? Does the tab go to 200 billion, 300 billion? Again, what do you say to folks who are concerned about that, about the amount of money that we're spending? Because, look, this could go on. We don't know how long it could go on. Putin, he clearly has not responded to the kind of pressure. This has not ended thus far.
This is going to have to go on as long as it takes for Ukraine to defend itself and for Russia to stop its aggression against Ukraine. And I think we've heard it said over and over again, freedom is not free. We have to pay for freedom. We have to fight for freedom. And that's what we're fighting for. Ukraine is a smaller country, having been attacked by a larger neighbor. Russia is a bully. And if Russia gets away with bullying Ukraine, then who will be next? And then who will be next after that? And suddenly we're all engaged in this. So we have to stop this now, and we have to support Ukraine's efforts to defend itself. And it's been bipartisan. So there are people who have raised concerns, but the support for what the president is doing in Ukraine has been roundly bipartisan. And we have to continue to put Ukraine in a position where they can defend themselves, and they're in a strong position when and if they are decide to go to the negotiating table.
A couple of things that also jump out. I've had a number of folks on social media. I even had them on the show talk about what has been happening in Ethiopia and the Tigray region. We were talking about, obviously, an African nation, close to Sudan. We were dealing with an issue there as well. That has been described in some places as humanitarian crisis, but there are a lot of people, a lot of Ethiopians in this country who are very concerned, who hit me all the time saying, why is it more attention being paid? Can you give folks some perspective in terms of what the United States has done in that part of the world, in that African country?
Good. Thank you so much for asking me that question, because it is an important question. And here in New York at the Security Council, I was sometimes a lone voice at the council demanding that we address the issues that were occurring in Ethiopia. The massive killings, the human rights violations, the starvation, the lack of humanitarian assistance. And I will tell you over and over again, me and other members of the Security Council, I won't take all of the credit for it. We were all working to bring this before the Security Council, and we were blocked. We were blocked by our Russian and Chinese colleagues, and we were blocked by efforts made by Ethiopia to keep this off the council's agenda. And we did get it on the council agenda. We did get briefings. We did call out our concerns about the situation on the ground, but we could have done more. We should have done more because thousands of people died on both sides. There was no right side of this war. This was a war in which Ethiopians were fighting Ethiopians. It was brothers against brothers. So there was no right side. And I am pleased at the moment that the ceasefire that was forged in December is still standing, and that the fighting has stopped, and that some humanitarian assistance is getting into the Tigray region. But this was something that, again, we all should have done more to stop.
Another area of interest, obviously, is Haiti. This week, we reported on the indictments that took place. 4 individuals who were arrested, 11 people who were arrested as part of this conspiracy to assassinate President Moise. That has led to so much upheaval there as well. What is the United States doing to help, beyond the prosecution from the Department of Justice, to help stabilize that country, because these gangs are still in control of what's happening there. We're still seeing massive unrest in Haiti. It is as if that country just can't get a break.
Again, another question that I really appreciate. I have been actively engaged on Haiti. I traveled to Haiti to the funeral of President Moise, and I've engaged quite a bit with members of Congress, as well as with Haitians on the situation on the ground there. We're working on this issue in the Security Council to come up with a security apparatus that is acceptable to the Haitian people, and one in which we can get in there and provide the security that the Haitians need in order to continue to live their lives. And we're working currently on a resolution that will give support to a non-UN multilateral force that will go in to provide that assistance. We have worked with a number of countries who have volunteered to send troops in support of that effort, and we're trying to move that as quickly as we possibly can. In the meantime, the United States, as you know, we did arrest some of the individuals who have been accused to have been involved in the killing and assassination of the president, and we're continuing to support those efforts through the FBI.
When you talk about that security apparatus, how many people were you talking? How many soldiers are we talking about? Because again, I've talked to Jacqueline Charles, a award-winning reporter with the Miami Herald, who spends a lot of time there, and just how people are just frightened because, in essence, these gangs are aligned with police, if you even have police in the military. So folks have absolutely no idea who to trust in the call, and the kidnappings continue as well, just is unabated. And so are we talking, what, several thousand, 5, 10,000, 20,000?
I can't give you a number. Countries will make decisions on how many troops that they can contribute. And, I don't even think we need 20,000 troops. We don't need 10,000 troops. We need a contingent of troops who are committed to providing security and supporting the Haitian people. And that determination will be made by military people, by experts, not by diplomats. But they should know that we support their efforts.
And will the United States be contributing troops to that effort as well?
The United States is working with the various countries to determine what role we will play.
Last question for you. And this also ties to Haiti. The deportation issue has been in the United States has been very controversial as well. And so what are you getting from other countries when they look at, again, we've been sending folks back to Haiti, deporting other folks because what's been happening on our border as well. There are some who still believe that there is inequality in terms of how Black immigrants are being treated compared to immigrants from other countries such as Cuba and other places along those lines.
Well, this is, as you know, an extraordinarily complicated issue for us. And I was very pleased that the president did announce parole for Haitians that allow those Haitians and family members to be reunited, something that we've done similarly with other places in the world. And we're working to address more consistently the needs of the Haitian people. Details about the deportations, I'll uh, encourage you to talk to our DHS about those, but know that we are working to try to support as many Haitians as we possibly can through the parole system, but also support them on the ground in Haiti.
Last question for you. China spends an inordinate amount of money on the continent of Africa. And a lot of people obviously are concerned about that in terms of being able to controlling so much. And one of the things that I've said is that in the United States, we look at that continent from from an aid standpoint versus an investment standpoint. 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies are in the motherland. And you have so many things going to be happening over the next 30 to 50 years. And so how is the United States positioned to see African nations as economic partners and not just simply rendering aid for humanitarian crisis? Because again, if we're just sort of looking at them that way, China's going to increase their foothold in these countries.
You know, we can't downplay the importance of humanitarian aid when people are in need. And Africans know. I had a conversation recently with an African leader who said, we know that Africa is in the heart of America and America is in the heart of Africa. And our support to the African people when they're in their time of need is never, ever questioned. But the point on development assistance, I was just looking at our statistics for imports and exports to Africa. We have an extraordinary program called the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. The AGOA Forum is going to be hosted in South Africa this year. Through the AGOA Act, more than $40 billion in exports from Africa to the United States and from the US to Africa have taken place under AGOA in the past year. So we're engaged with Africa on the development and trade side as well. And while Africans have a choice, we're not telling them what choice to make, but we're treating Africans as equal partners. The Leaders Summit that the president hosted in December last year was an extraordinary success. We had leaders from across Africa here in the United States engaging with American companies, engaging with our leaders to talk about how we can take that partnership even further. And it's a partnership that we tremendously appreciate. And I know on the African side, countries appreciate the partnership that they have with the United States.
And are you seeing African American businesses also participate in that?
I am. I think we can do more to encourage African American businesses to invest in Africa. We can do more to support their efforts. The Small Business Agency is one agency that I think can work with African countries, but there are also huge African American companies that could be investing in the continent. And I think and I put myself in that place, we have to do more to encourage those companies to see the benefit of investing in Africa. And on the other side of this, encourage African countries to welcome African American businesses to the continent.
Last question. This is Black History Month. As a young African American who's watching, who may not know that Ralph Bunche was the first African American to win the Nobel Peace Prize, what would you say to a young brother, a young sister who has never thought about the idea of being an American diplomat and that just sort of that's a foreign idea to them. What would you say to that person? Why
Well,
they should
think
think about
about
it?
it. That's the first thing I would say. Think about it because I was that young African American. I grew up in Louisiana. I had no clue this career was even out there, let alone a possibility for me. And through circumstances and experiences, I eventually was introduced to this. I never even knew that there was a possibility for me to be the United States ambassador to the United Nations or be a diplomat. I spent 35 years in the Foreign Service, traveling all over the world. So I encourage them to think about it. Go onto the State Department's website. You know, there's a website at careers@state.gov. Look at that website. We have internship programs for African Americans. So this is a possibility for them. And then I would add to that, look at the United Nations. It is rare that I see an African American working in the United Nations. That's
Really?
where Ralph Bunche started. In the United Nations. There's a park here right outside this building commemorating Ralph Bunche. We have a library in the State Department commemorating Ralph Bunche, and he started all of this for all of us. I'm continuing it, and I hope the next generation is looking at your program and thinking about how they can pursue a career in the Foreign Service.
All right, Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, always good to see you. Last time was at the Jackie Robinson Museum opening, and so thanks for chatting. Look forward to having you back again.
Good. I'll look forward to it. And I have to go back to that museum. I really enjoyed being there, but didn't spend enough time.
Absolutely. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Paying some bills. We'll come back. Final comments from our panel on my conversation with the ambassador. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, final comments from our panel with regards to my conversation with the ambassador. Erica, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Roland. I think that was a very important conversation for people to see Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield. I spent time as an emissary in South Sudan in 2019, and what is on the ground and what is being reported or what is barely reported are two very, very different things. When we think about the countries that she mentioned, China, when we think about Russia, when we think about France, which we know is notorious in their abuse of the continent as a whole, what we see when we go to the different countries and how those countries, specifically South Sudan and where I was, Ye State River, functionally where we had to fly into a goat field and then be transported, of course, with a security detail. People need to know that these countries definitely have blood on their hands.
Reese, you're on mute. Reese, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, I echo what Erica said. It was a very important and substantive conversation. And I think it's really interesting to juxtapose her seriousness and her sincerity with the other former UN ambassador that just announced her presidential campaign that doesn't need to be named.
Take us home, Greg.
I was thoroughly disgusted. And quite frankly, anyone who takes anything coming out of the federal government's mouth when it comes to Africa or the Caribbean, including Haiti, at face value, you should be embarrassed. That's everyone. Please look this up. With all due respect to Ambassador Thompson-Greenfield, the United States was deeply involved in the assassination of Moise. The people they've arrested are in Florida. They're U.S. citizens. And one of them has said that the FBI, the CIA was in on it from the beginning. Right now, 44 countries in the Caribbean, CARICOM, are meeting. They are being pressured by the United States to call for the invasion of Haiti again. The U.S. occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934. They were involved in propping up Papa Doc and Baby Doc, in getting rid of Aristide, bringing him back, and then asked the Clintons about how much money they made in that whole process. And then when the UN invaded in 2010, the cholera outbreak killed people and sent a whole lot of Haitians to Brazil and all other places. That's how they ended up in Mexico for Trump and then Biden to continue to fight against them. You can't take that stuff at face value. Let's be very clear. The president there now, Ariel Henry is a U.S. plant. And when she says the Haitian people are calling for intervention, that's a lie. Please understand. And when you talk about gangs ruling Haiti, John Henry Clark, you're saying some stories there are no good guys. Yes, there's a lot of violence in Haiti. A great deal of it is because of foreign intervention. And who leads the pack? The damn United States of America. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is at that meeting in CARICOM right now, and he's got the Canadian Navy doing fact finding, getting ready to invade Haiti. And guess who's trying to get him to do it? Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield is in the room trying to make sure that the U.S. can throw the rock and hide its hand. Finally, the damn Dominican Republic, Abinada, the president of the DR, do you know he called for the intervention in Haiti as well? And after coming to the U.S. and meeting with, who did he meet with? Oh, yes, the vice president of the United States of America. Most of the world has not picked a side in the Russia-Ukraine fight. If you watch mass media, they'll tell you, oh, we're all standing. That's like listening to, what's the man's, Malcolm Nance and them. Please understand, Africa, most of those countries have not chosen a side. Why? The Russians have boots on the ground in places like Mali and Burkina Faso trying to help the Africans get the French out. But guess what? Those Russian mercenaries aren't any better than the damn French. And the Chinese, meanwhile, have poured so much money into Africa that when they had that summit she was talking about and brought all them damn Negro African leaders here to sing and dance for $1, they had all the companies signed up. And while they were there, the Secretary of State Blinken is forcing Angola, forcing West Africans to sign private deals to give away strategic minerals to U.S.-supported private companies. Please, please, before you watch anybody, black, white, or polka dot, start talking about how much Africa is in the heart of the United States. Please understand, black people. The United States don't give a damn about black people, whether you're born here or in Africa. The only thing they want is their strategic foreign policy interests. If we don't get smarter about foreign policy, we're going to mess around and be in another damn war. Remember Colin Powell at that same UN shaking that little vial of dust, and the next thing you know, you're in Afghanistan for 30 years? Please wake up, black people.